In today's video, I'm going to show you my concept for how Asylum of the Daleks could have been a lot better. A few videos back, I talked about Asylum of the Daleks and why, to me, it is the worst Dalek story of all time, and there is a reason I neglected to mention. A number of commenters asked if Asylum of the Daleks is actually worse than a small handful of the classic Dalek stories, say Destiny of the Daleks, Day of the Daleks, Planet of the Daleks, Death to the Daleks, and these are all worthy points, but I still put Asylum of the Daleks at the very bottom for the following reasons. Number 1, Asylum of the Daleks had the gall to erase the Daleks' memory of the Doctor in the final scenes, rendering their character progress over the decades completely redundant. None of the aforementioned Dalek stories did anything this damaging to the character. Same goes for all the rubbish that the Dalek Prime Minister came out with. After the 2005 revival, everything, including the Daleks, had a major rethink to create a consistent and coherent narrative current with the Daleks. The new rulebook was made. Asylum of the Daleks wiped its hind with the rulebook, removed every little detail of the Dalek personality and what makes them terrifying as they are, and resorted to Dalek zombies to up the terror. No, I don't mean zombie Daleks, I mean normal zombies with eye stalks in their head. In short, the aforementioned classic Dalek stories came around during Doctor Who's much earlier stages. 3 and 4 are much lower numbers than 11, and these stories were all during the 3rd and 4th Doctor's tenure. By the time we reach the 11th Doctor, we should definitely know better. Now, like I did with Resolution, I want to offer up my own rethink for Asylum of the Daleks, but a lot more thought has had to go into this one, as I really don't think Asylum of the Daleks in its current state has anything going for it. So let's begin. From the very start, we begin with the Doctor waking up in an elevator. He doesn't know how he got there, we can only assume it's a transmat. This pays a little reference to the beginning of Bad Wolf. The lift reaches the bottom floor and the Doctor steps out into an empty room full of giant monitors that are switched off. We hear banging against the walls. It sounds like in the next room terrifying things are going on. There are no chairs in the room that the Doctor is in, but chambers with all kinds of utensils. The monitors switch on and we see the Dalek strategist addressing the Doctor. The Doctor is shocked at the sight of his old nemesis. The Dalek strategist explains to the Doctor that he's been sent into the Dalek Asylum, which confuses the Doctor. The Dalek strategist goes on to explain that there has been a war between the new Dalek paradigm and the Time War Daleks that has driven their species to near extinction. So the Paradigm and Time War Daleks teamed up to travel to the battlegrounds of previous Dalek encounters and take the dead Daleks to the Asylum planet to be resurrected in a bid to restore lost Daleks. However, they are completely incoherent and insane. The Doctor is told that he could be the key to restoring the sanity of the incoherent Daleks, which the Doctor laughs off and states that he'll just be heading for the nearest exit now, as opposed to being the Daleks' literal nurse. Immediately, this gives some extra credibility to the idea of a Dalek asylum and builds up a sense of atmosphere and dread. It means that the Daleks are preserving their kind for Dalek survival reasons, as opposed to the nonsense we got about the Dalek concept of beauty in the actual episode. The Doctor notices the elevator has not been on his floor since the Dalek strategist has been talking, but notices it's on his way. The Doctor starts to panic and tries to enter the codes to unlock the next door to escape whatever is on its way. The lift opens and out come 2 red Dalek drones. The Doctor braces himself for death until the Daleks explain that they are here to protect the Doctor from potentially hostile Daleks and make sure he doesn't try anything. This does give us a sense of shock and irony, the Doctor's purpose in this episode being to literally doctor the insane Daleks, as well as the Daleks protecting the Doctor from hostile Daleks, as if the Daleks were not already hostile. As well, the Doctor and the Daleks reluctantly working together, and as well as this, sending the Doctor in with 2 coherent Daleks showing that the Daleks do not fear their damaged inmates, sets the Daleks up as a far more intimidating villain and fixes the problem with their characterization in the real episode. You know, the problem that they're an absolute joke. The 2 Dalek drones mention that they are shielded from the nano cloud. When the Doctor asks what this is, the Daleks state that it is a mental medication for the insane Daleks that the Doctor may experience some neural effects from, just to set up further stakes. Even though he's accompanied by 2 Dalek drones, the last thing the Doctor wants is to contribute to anything to the survival of the Daleks. His priority is still escape, until he's working his way through the asylum. In all of the rooms are monitors filled with Dalek text, presumably word therapy, until the Doctor notices some of the words are in English and not the usual choice of Dalek vocabulary. The Doctor begins to realise that one of the inmates in the asylum is probably not a Dalek, and suddenly rescue becomes more of a priority than escape. This creates a grueling, high-stakes scenario for the Doctor. The Doctor does ask the drones what becomes of him once he's saved the Daleks, to which they bluntly respond that he'll be exterminated. Because he's accompanied by two Dalek drones that are duty-bound to protect him, we do get a lot of fun dialogue between the Doctor and the Daleks, as the Doctor does his absolute best to find some decency in them, and when that doesn't work, he just provokes them and cheeses them off for fun. This gives the Daleks a better sense of character in the story, as opposed to just making them an obstacle. Having these Daleks with him would also mean that if any insane Dalek tries to kill him, he is protected, as opposed to just having the cop-out of the Daleks going to the Stormtrooper school of shooting, and just missing every shot, like in the actual episode. The Daleks are supposed to be extremely precise. This story also makes the Daleks extremely intelligent, as it means there really is no way out for the Doctor. He has to save the Daleks. It would be exciting to have the 11th Doctor properly face-to-face with classic Daleks as he tries to speak of his stories. We get some interesting scenes where the Doctor is telling them tales of their defeat at his hands, and even get to see a bit of darkness in the Doctor as he kind of revels in the tales of their destruction, to refuel the hatred within them that motivates them to be all the more Dalek. We also establish a new challenge. The Monitor starts sending the Doctor directions in English, declaring that they are not Dalek and need help. The Doctor must try to divert the Dalek drones to the rescue mission and try to convince them that this is for the greater good of the Daleks and, not a rescue mission. As the story progresses, we learn a lot about Dalek biology, what fuels them, how they eat, what they are fed. It is an opportunity for all sorts of disturbing body horror. We could also see something that no one's ever wanted to see, the Dalek mutant breeding process. Yes, we all know that it's a lab process, but these Daleks are insane. What if there's just a big mound of them just going at it? Unnatural birth, a bit like how Superman was conceived in Man of Steel. What with Krypton banning natural birth, but then Superman's parents just went at it. The Daleks could have similar options. Ugh, how unsettling would it be to see a baby Dalek raised in a Dalek insane asylum? What would a baby Dalek mutant even look like? This episode could totally serve us the purpose of really teaching us about the Daleks and the mutants inside. This doesn't really negate any of the Dalek history because they are insane after all. I just love the idea of these disgusting mutants everywhere, but let's make it even more disturbing with the mise-en-scène. There are even dead Dalek mutants just laying around and rotting there, some opened up with their stringy insides spilled all over the place. Some of the Daleks that are still in their casing are just pestering Dalek mutant corpses, flinging them around with their suction cups. The idea that a human has survived in this kind of environment becomes even more grueling. Did I go too far with the Dalek body horror? Well, good. It's an asylum. It's meant to be atmospheric and disturbing. Imagine the Doctor just walking through the asylum and then a tentacle just kind of falls from the ceiling, followed by an entire Dalek mutant that's dead and has just been kind of stuck there. It falls on the Doctor's shoulders of all places. Imagine Matt Smith would have so much fun with that performance. He loves playing with props like that. Who wouldn't? We get to the final room where the rescue comes to its end and the Doctor convinces the two drones to stay outside. The littering of hallucinations from the nanocloud comes with a ton of creative potential, but I would like it to come to a head when the Doctor comes to the rescue at last, convincing the Dalek drones to wait outside, and when he goes into the room you see a TV production crew, as well as TV host Oswin Oswald, congratulating the Doctor on his survival. The walls of the asylum all fold back to reveal a studio audience applauding him. Some Daleks roll out with a large check for the Doctor, and his mother in her Time Lord clothing is in the audience, looking ever so proud. Heck, we could even have, previous companions just in the audience. That would be crazy. The crowd are all chanting, "Doctor, Doctor, Doctor," but then we hear a Dalek yell loudly, "Doctor!" pulling the Doctor out of the illusion, and in front of him is a Dalek, albeit one kitted out with all sorts of gadgets. The Doctor talks to the Dalek to realise that the Dalek has convinced itself that it is human and not Dalek, believing itself to be a human television producer called Oswin Oswald. The Doctor begins to feel a huge amount of empathy for the Dalek and the Dalek agrees to remotely rewire the Dalek transmat to send the Doctor home. The Doctor thanks the Dalek, and the Dalek asks, "Am I a good human?" to the Doctor, which the Doctor responds, "Yes, you are a good human," before being sent back. The Dalek then remotely disables the transmat before confronting the two Dalek drones. We then see on the Dalek mothership that the transmat machine has been exploded, and the Supreme Dalek, does the usual and asks for an explanation. Back on Earth, the Doctor runs to Amy and Rory's where the TARDIS is parked, but hesitates before stepping into the TARDIS and instead opts to knock on Amy and Rory's door. Amy opens the door, and Rory is inside. There is makeup ran down Amy's face to suggest that she's been crying. The Doctor doesn't quite twig this at first and just says something silly like, "You would not believe the day I've had." Rory then steps into the background holding medical files, suggesting that something bad has happened to either Amy or Rory, setting up the whole Amy can't have a baby plot for a later episode without the divorce. Credits roll. As always, it's all very easy to come up with these concepts in hindsight. Without the episode actually existing, I might not have really had the mental faculties to come up with something like this without the inspiration that maybe the real Asylum of the Daleks gave me. So as always, I just want to point out that this is no kind of personal attack on anyone that was involved in the making of this episode. I just really don't think the end result is anything very good, and I feel like audiences are more intelligent than to really just accept this sort of stuff. And if you do enjoy the episode, that's fine. I'm not trying to say you're not intelligent or anything. It's just people look for different things in entertainment, and I'm obviously someone that's looking for something more coherent than the end result that we got. So what do you think of my rethink of Asylum of the Daleks? Would you like this episode? Do you think it's better conceptually than the version that made it to TV? Comment below and discuss. And remember, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, and consider the Patreon. Link in the description below to help make my content way better. Thank you for 3,000 subscribers. I love you guys. Catch you next time.